So thank you, Erdem, for agreeing for this interview and giving us the opportunity to bring to light the workings of YUVA and observing the World Environment Day with us. Now, since we have so much to talk about in this limited amount of time, we have curated certain questions that would help us navigate this interview easily. So, if it's okay, can I start with my first question?
Sure, please.
Perfect. So, Erdem, I'd like to know if there is enough conversation going around about the importance of protecting the environment. Yeah, in Turkey and also around the globe.
Well, I think, it is never enough for us, of course, for the environmentalists, so to say, because, we are still unable to change the path we are in, which is not going to a better, let's say, world or better life. So this means we do not really sufficiently talk about environment and climate change issues. On the other hand, of course, it is much better than before. There is much more conversation, much more people have understood how important and how urgent these topics are. So, it's getting better in that sense in Turkey as well. Although in Turkey, of course, we have now many different agendas, like a big economic crisis, and also we are just in the post-pandemic time, trying to recover in many senses. Also globally, I think that the conversation is much more than before. Everybody knows now what I hope, let's say, what climate change is, and that humans are causing it, for example. But on the other hand, I think what we are missing now badly is the action of individuals, but also from governments and other bodies.
Now, talking about actions of individuals, so I'd like to know, in today's times, how can a human being affect the environment directly or indirectly? Because I'm sure it's a bit different than it used to be a couple of years ago.
Yeah, our footprint, ecological footprint, grows year by year. I think 2018 figures show that like an average Turkish person, for example, is consuming twice than the earth can handle, and this is 5 times for an average American, for example. So yes, the traditional, let's say, Western or more developed countries consume, in average, like an average person consume much more than, let's say, a developing country. But this doesn't mean that a developing country like Turkey, for example, is in a sustainable path. So this means we all need to do much more than before. This is also, I think, related to that our choices and options are also larger than 20 years ago. Now, flying from one point A and to point B is nearly globally very available option for transportation, for example. Or there are many electronic and electrical devices now we use in our homes, which were not maybe available for many in these years. So although there is, yes, an inflation crisis in the whole global world, let's say, so the prices go higher of everything. But on the other hand, until, let's say, the pandemic, this was not the case. I think that many things I'm meaning really things that we own, got cheaper and cheaper for many of us. But this, of course, has to be balanced with awareness of how much we need, how much this earth we call home can sustain, etc. So this we have to balance, and this we have to give to every individual on this earth. Of course, yet we cannot blame the underdeveloped countries, so to say. But we see that every, let's say, every person on this planet, the more global we become, the more the internet is available, the more TV channels are available to everybody. Everybody starts to, let's say, to wish to live like an American or to live like a Western country or developed country citizen. And we know that this is simply not possible. I mean, we have to change our consuming patterns. I mean, this has to start, of course, with the ones who already, let's say, so to say, consume more than 5 times an Earth already. But I mean, this cannot stop there, because we all are tending to do the mistakes the Western countries have done so far. So we have to consume wisely. We have to know where this item comes from and where it will end, whether it can be reused, whether it can be recycled, how much energy and water has been consumed, are there toxic materials involved, and what is the carbon footprint, I mean the greenhouse emission used to produce that product. For example, of course, the cars. Now we have an alternative to our fossil fuel-based engines, for example. We have the electrical cars. So first we need to think about, do I need a car? If yes, what type of car do I need? And if I have to buy it, then I should look really the emission this car is producing. Just an example.
So yeah, you are talking about the carbon footprints that every one of us leaves, and that is not only dependent on the individual habits, but also where we come from and how much are we exposed to the natural resources that we consume, and also more globalized that we go towards more damage to the environment we are making. So yeah, so I'd like to know what kind of harm can a human being do to the environment, and how can we ensure that it's not done and protect it?
Well, I mean, every action we do has an impact, actually. Although this impact can be, so to say, reused, recycled, and can be done in a they say in an economy which is in cycles. So this means if we consume something, that item needs to be able to be reused. So we don't just throw it out. So, for example, we hear a lot now, the conversation is also a lot now, not only about climate change, but also the plastic pollution. So we produce too much plastics around the globe, and most of these plastics are used only once, and we just throw them into the garbage. And most of this garbage ends up in our landfills or in our oceans. And it is not only enough to recycle the plastic every single time we use it, because we still need energy, which again will cause carbon footprint and carbon emissions, energy and water, for example, just to recycle that item. So every step we take has a footprint. The important thing is that we somehow can put this footprint into cycles so that we do not have a negative impact for the generations ahead. This means, like energy production, we consume, of course, energy for transportation, energy for our heating, for example. We consume energy for the lights we have in our houses, in our offices, etc. So we should think of to each one of our consumption, let's say, areas, and see what can we do more sustainable. Could I use, for example, not my own car or public transportation or a bicycle to go to where I want to go? Or should I use less flights, for example? Do I need to really do my to have my vacation in another continent, or could I do it in a nearer place where I can travel by train or any bus or any kind of other public transport? Or how do I heat my home? Do I burn coal, natural gas? Now it has become even a bigger discussion, especially in Europe after the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Is this the only alternative, or could we use renewable energies from sun and wind, etc., and use, for example, electrical heat pumps instead of using all these fossil fuels to heat our homes and offices and areas? So do I, for example, separate my waste, let's say residential waste? Do I put the glasses and put the plastics and organic materials separately into the bin, so that let's say the municipality or whoever is in charge can reuse or recycle them afterwards, or compost, for example, our organic waste? So actually, at least in our generation, wasting was kind of a shame. This has changed, I think, in the last 20-30 years, that wasting has become consumption, and consumption is a good thing to show off that we consume more and more and we are easily doing it. And this has to change again dramatically. We have to go back to the point that we don't waste anything else, because I mean our population is much bigger and the earth doesn't grow bigger. This is the very basic maths.
So Erdem, how has YUVA been a part of all the steps that you have talked about, and how has YUVA contributed in making sure that the environment around it is protected?
As YUVA, we have a big program about ecological literacy. What is ecological literacy? Is, let's say, the ABC of what we should know as an Earth citizen, someone who lives on this rock, which has miraculously life on it, and miraculously this whole atmosphere and all this biosphere is very suited to our purposes. Of course, this is not just a miracle, but you can go to the evolution that we have been adapted to this environment. But this is the only planet that we have that we can live on. So this is the awareness we are trying to give to people, to young people, to adults, to children. So we also increase the capacity of other organizations who give environmental education activities. So we have a network called Environmental Literacy Network, where we are trying to train trainers to also provide those environmental literacy trainings to others. So we have a multiple effects, and that we share this knowledge, and let's say to also mobilize, to give the awareness, to mobilize people, to as many people as possible. So this is what we do. We have, as I said, education programs, big education programs since 2010, and we have provided these trainings, I think, more than 10,000 people now across Turkey and also in parts of Europe. So this is how we want to tackle. We also try to support local groups who work on climate change issues by providing them a platform on internet, on social media platforms to give to increase their voice. Many of them are advocating against fossil fuels, against fossil fuel-based energy production. So we have these two lines, I can tell. One is kind of advocacy and the other one is education.
That is so amazing, and thank you, and all the very best for all the future endeavors that you plan to do. So, Erdem, if somebody from the outside wants to help and support the cause, or wants to help your organization, how can they do that?
Of course, it depends where you live as well. For the ones who live in Turkey or in the regions where we are active, they can easily contact us and become an ecological literacy trainer, for example, because we work with volunteers mainly, because we don't want only the experts, let's say, on environmental issues to provide those trainings. We need much more than that. This is why we call it literacy rather than a master's program or whatever, because this is knowledge and awareness that every citizen needs. So we can actually train each other, we shouldn't depend on experts on that. So let's say a person in Turkey could easily approach us and tell us that they want to become a trainer as well, and we can hopefully give this training to that person, and they can become a volunteer in our work. But for the ones who don't live in Turkey, or let's say not near to Turkey, they can of course support us by financial means as well, because of course all of these activities cost something, and thankfully we have a very good and very experienced trainers, adult education trainers, who provide all these capacity building trainers and trainings for trainers. So we somehow need finances for that as well. So someone from another country than Turkey could easily go on to our website, which is YUVA, YUVA.ngo, and there they can donate to our cause as well. But if there is an organization, a company, or another NGO, for example, who would do a cooperation with us, let's say a common project, or they need, capacity building from us, etc., they can also contact us. They can find our communication details on our webpage as well. And we can also maybe provide the communication details in this video somewhere.
Yes, we surely will. We do tag the nonprofits on the caption when we post it online and on our social media platforms. So, Erdem, with this question, we have come to the end of the interview. And thank you so much for taking your time out and answering all our questions very patiently and very eagerly, and shedding light on the environmental conditions in and around Turkey and also around the globe. So thank you so much, Erdem. If you have anything you'd like to ask me.
Thank you, Amrisha, for inviting us. And I hope, we can increase our voices and that our messages go to the people, and that the people also start acting and join the cause, let's say.